A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, watching around the world live from Slovenia, the beautiful city of Podcetrtek. We are watching this quarterfinal between Marko Spitzky against Mateusz Sniegocki. 150 players started this event, only 8 of them left. Let's see who will book the place in the semifinals. My name is Arya Sorabi. I'll be talking you through this match, and we are expecting a thriller here. As you can see, it's a race to 8. Both players get 2 breaks each. Mateusz Sniegocki won the leg, so he will start off this match, and as we pay our attention to see his first of the 2 breaks he gets, he will get this show on the road. Mateusz with a very successful break there, I must say. A nice spread and spoiled for choices, really. Obviously going for the solids. They are better spread, if you'd like to use that phrase. So basically it's about connecting the dots. I think already right now he's trying to figure out which ball he's going to use as lats to play position on the 8. He's spoiled for choice, really. I mean, he can use the 5 or the 4, them to look like the most obvious ones. Maybe right now, well, you can take the 2 in the bottom left corner pocket. Yeah, so he's still in prime position. As you can see, the 8 is a little bit occupied with the stripes there, so does need to take some care and attention for the angle he leaves himself on the 4 or the 5 for that matter. Here you can see the 5 is obviously the easier shot, but if he can pot the 3, land nicely on the 5, he could guarantee himself a nice angle. Top this through with a little bit of check spin. Didn't get enough purchase on the cue ball as he would have liked. Still, this 3 is cuttable. Making the shot shouldn't really cause a problem for him here. It's all about figuring out if he can leave himself a positive angle on the 4 here. He wants to land a bit thin on the 4. Just like so. Has he bounced back hard enough? As we can look at the camera angle here. Yes, he has. Demonstration of how to break and run. A beautiful rack. As you can see, Mateusz is a very fluent and quick player, a very well-known, one of the household names of the Polish contingents, and he starts off the match with a great and solid break and run. Another break coming up shortly.
I have 10 seconds.
As we turn our attention back to this match, Mateusz with his last and second of his first double breaks. Nearly lost his cue ball there. Mateusz thought it was a dry break, and actually I thought as well, but apparently one ball dropped. It's probably either one of the middle pockets or maybe one of the corner pockets, the bottom right from this angle. So he could really count himself fortunate there. If you look at the position of the cue ball, I mean, Is it missable? Maybe, but he can definitely pot this 13 stripe, the orange 13, but he can also use the 2 or the 12 for that matter. It's looking like he's going for the 2, so he's opting for the solids once more. Yeah, he had a nice area to land his cue ball there. Didn't play or attack the ball too carefully, so he did cue the ball nice and neat there, which enabled him to pot the 2 comfortably. Sometimes with one of those shots, the starting opening shot, where you are a bit too careful, you can inject a little bit of insecurity in your stroke, if that even makes sense, and then you get caught out. But this time potted the 2 clean and neat, and he's back in prime position. Yeah, you can use this angle to get rid of the 6 there. I mean, as you can see, there's not a lot of room to play position on the 6, and he's got a great angle to go around the rails, 2 or 3 rails, back in the open. He could go behind the 1 or across the 1, just like so. Again, something you will see in professional pool more often than not is these players, the playing towards the center of the table, where you leave yourself multiple angles, multiple options, particularly in 8-ball, where you're not obliged to play the lowest numbered ball. Once again, here he's got a nice angle on the 7 to stun this in, use the side rail. The only thing I would say is you're desperately trying to avoid any sort of contact with the 9 here. Yeah, and he did so, still in prime position. It's looking likely that he will need to use at least 2 rails in putting this 3, and there is a couple of balls in his way, so he needs to find a path that guarantees himself with the best possible outcome. So he's opted to go forward inside, and that seems to be a bit hard. Look, it's far from ideal, and you could call this a positional error, but he might be okay, you know. He needs to cut this in, and this is a tricky one. So it's not only about putting the 1, this is a two-way shot, because 1, you need to putt the 1, and 2, if possible, you try to avoid contact with the 8 or the 10 for that matter. But you also need to inject enough power in the cue ball. Yeah, you can see it was clearly too complicated, and it all started with the pivotal positional play from the 3. So as we see, Marko Spitzky for the first time with a clear-cut chance to get his first rack on the board. Marko, one of the many great German players on the circuit. He's been active as a professional pool player for many years. It's looking like he wants to get rid of the 15 there, and also the 11 is a bit in a tough spot because the 1 obviously covers the 11. And I think the only reason Marko is opted against taking the 15 is with the angle he left himself, it was pretty much impossible to avoid any contact with the 11. This is why with this angle he can definitely putt the 11. Doesn't need to do a lot with his cue ball, just drop this in natural angle, and he should leave himself a good position on the 15 for in the same pocket. Now you can get rid of the 15 there as well, and then go up the table. Cue ball stop just in time there because he didn't want to land too straight on this 9. He wants to go away from the side rail. Where's the cue ball? Oh dear me, that was a very, very fortunate shot. In all honesty, if he didn't hit the point of the middle pocket, who knows where he would have landed with his cue ball. Well, as it stays, he still converted his chance and gets his first rack on the board. Now he gets to break twice, and these little mini breaks of serve, if we can use that term, they can prove to be very crucial in the end of the match. As you can see in your screen, the previous scores and also the scheduled matches coming up. As we said at the start of the program, it's quarterfinals time. So obviously no need explaining that we have 8 players remaining of the 150 participants. Fun fact though, from the 8 we've got 4 players representing Poland. So Poland, the Polish players, are doing really well in this tournament. And then we have, of course, Marco Spitzky on our screen representing Germany. Mario He versus Roman Hibler. Mario He from Austria playing Roman Hibler from Czech. And then also we have Benko Max. And I just need to make sure that I don't stuff this up. Marco with a nice break there. Obviously going for the stripes here. It seems like the 8 might pass the 4 in the middle pocket. If that is the case, he doesn't necessarily have to develop the 8. So that could be good news for him. Of course, it's all about figuring a way towards the end part of the game where you use the last 2 balls to leave yourself a comfortable angle to go towards the 8. Yeah, you can peel out the 10 right here, and I think he's left himself nicely on the 10. You can draw this back off the side rail, go back in the center line for either 2 of the balls in the middle. I think if he can avoid contact with the 1 ball there, he could take the 14, the green stripe ball, go around 2-3 rails and play for the 15 in the same corner, middle pocket I should say. So yeah, he's come around to have another look where he wants to place his cue ball. As long as he doesn't snooker himself with the 6, he should be fine. Opted to not use an extra rail, and he's landed absolutely spot on this 8. So a nice break and run to get his breaking campaign. As I was saying previous, we've got 4 players representing Poland, 1 gentleman representing Czech, and of course Germany, Marco Spitzky. We have Mario Hay representing Austria, and we have a local hero, Benko Max, who is representing Slovenia. So all to play for, and if you want to follow the live scores on the other matches, we have another table that is provided for you live, with live commentary just like this, and completely free on YouTube. If you would look up ProBilliardTV, you can find both of the tables, the live stream tables, or table 1 and 2. They'll be on for your disposal for the entire day and provided with live commentary. So if you can like, share and subscribe to help us grow the channels, we would deeply appreciate your support, of course. As we turn our attention back to Marco, he's off and running once again. And when you look at the layout here, it's really hard to see where this could possibly go wrong. Just needs to draw his cue ball back, or he can follow it through, whatever he desires. Nicely enough on the 1. If he can just ever so slightly follow through his cue ball, just like so, that is more than enough. He can use this angle. He's got options here. He can draw it straight back, or he can use the side rail, top this through. Side rail it is. Go back up table, and the cue ball has stopped right in the perfect spot. Just needs some little extension on the back of his cue to reach this 4. Draw this back more or less in the center line. Just like so. And of course, with the 14 being there, this is considered a big pocket, so he might actually want to use a little portion of the left side of the rail just to make sure that he does not make contact too thick with the 14. Never even touch the sides, straight in. So 2 solid break and runs there for Marco, so he is well up for this. Let's see what Mateusz can do in return, as he will get his second pair of breaks. Mateusz back at the table with a successful break. Yeah, this rack needs some care and attention. I don't think going for the solids is a bad option here. Really, realistically, the 7 might be causing a... As I say that, he's played a wonderful positional shot there. And if anything, he's a little bit unfortunate that he's pushed the 8 onto the 10 now. So that 8 at some point, which is obviously, no need a further explanation, the most important ball in 8-ball, would need some care and attention. But what a lovely plan he had to develop with 7 and still play position of these 2 balls at the bottom. Yeah, so he's developed the 8 here, but of course now he's faced with a very thin shot here on the 5, I believe it is. No, it's the 7. beg your pardon. And see, the angle is pretty thin, so he might have to use a lot of right hand spin to go all around the table. But basically you're looking at just grazing past the 3 and use 3 to 4 rails to get your cue ball back in the open. Went a different route, and I must say, on first glance, it's hard to see where the next pot is coming from. Apparently he can see just enough of the 1. And he's executed this shot perfectly. He's left himself a positive angle on the 4 here. Just needs to follow through his cue ball past the line to pot this 3, really, to go back downwards once more. You could use the rail if he wants. Now, what's his angle like? Can he avoid making contact with the 15 is the big question here. It's all about pace and line. What's his pace like? Well, it's a bit thinner on the 8 than he would have loved to be. But in all honesty, from the position he had to take on the 3, I think he's done pretty well there. And I'd be really surprised if he does miss the 8. But of course in pool, stranger things have happened. Not today though. Made light work of that 8, and back with his reply with another break and run. Both players seems to be in good shape, so if this is anything to go by, we should be in for a thriller. Mateusz once more with a successful break. He's back at the table once again. I think if you would ask him, he would prefer to take the stripes, but I think right now he hasn't got access to a direct pot on the stripes, so basically the table is forcing him to take the solids, which is again doable. It's just about the 3 really. When you look at what the position of the 3, the red 3 is, that seems to be the most obvious difficult shot for the solids. Starts off with a nice pot on the 2 there. Nice good control on the cue ball there, and this is where the work starts. We try to you need to try and find a path towards the 3 there, and also the 6 is not entirely wide open. The green 6. 6 just drops in. I can only assume that he was trying to play a two-way shot. Now he's run into the 9, but if he would have missed the 9, I think he was trying to play position on the 3. Even if he would have failed on the position on the 3, he would always have this 4 in the middle as well as the 7. But if you can recall, he barely potted the previous ball, and this proved to be too thin for him. Let's have a look where the cue ball has landed and what is he left Marco here. First glance, I can only see a long pot on the 9, which seems to be a very tricky and risky shot. So if Marco will go for the attack here, he needs to be fully convinced that he will make the 9 here, and it's hard to tell whether he's even going for the 9. Seems to be a safety shot here. Yeah. No, his plan worked partially. I think he was trying to play a snooker and hook his opponent behind the 10 ball, the blue striped 10 ball. He's failed to do so, but again, the 3 is still occupied with other balls there, so not only the 3, even the 6 is not clear cut in the open for Mateusz, and this was a fabulous shot. The cue ball just had enough roll on it to get stuck on the 7 and is now snookered Marco. Marco, as you saw there, tapped the table in appreciation. That was a perfectly executed safety there. Needs to make contact with one of the stripes, and not only that, also needs to hit a rail. Yeah, so this is not a foul and ball in hand, and that really would have been very costly for him if he would have given away ball in hand. So once again, the 6 needs some solving from Mateusz's point of view, of course. Yeah, he had a little deceleration in his backspin there. I mean, he was trying to play a very delicate positional shot on the 6. As you can see, the 6 does pass the 8 here. But because he's landed not only so close to the rail, but also with too much angle on the 6, he's now going for the 3 rather than the 6. So he's only going to get one more chance to play a nice positional shot on the 6 here. So more or less where he was there prior, you'd say it's the first diamond past the middle pocket to his left here. This is all about pace and angle. As you can see, he potted the 7 really thick. This is why his angle is completely changed there, and also why he is left short, and now he's in a spot of bother. So he's called the 6 here, that obviously does not pot directly, so he's probably trying to pot it off one of the stripes there. What a great shot. What a great shot. I have to take note of that, because that should probably end up in the highlight reel. What a fabulous shot that was. Amazing creativity. What a shot by Sniegocki. And he levels the scores. It's 3-all now. Marco quickly to return the compliment here with a nice break and run. As it seems, of course, he needs to putt these last 2 balls, but he's landed again perfect in prime position. And I have to say, nothing really fuels your confidence if you can, of course, not only complete racks, but doing with nice and neat position. That's something that really fuels your confidence, because when you don't have to play tough shots and you can just command the cue ball to do whatever you want it to do, yeah, you grow in confidence as a player. Marco still in front, 4-3 up. And let's have a look at the proceedings on the other tables to give you a quick score update on the other tables. Mario He 3-1 up against Roman Hibler. Benko Max, the home hero, 4-2 up against Daniel Maciol. And the all-Polish affair, Mieszko Fortunski versus Simon Kural. Mieszko is leading that one 5-3 up, so you are fully updated. If you would like to follow the score lines on the other tables, you've got 2 live stream tables with commentary, but you can also head over on the IBPF website and click on the Predator EuroTour in Slovenia, and you should be able to see the draw and results as well as the live score. Once again, when we turn our attention to this match, Marco still with no dry breaks, with a successful break there. Nice even spread on the balls here, and it's looking really solid so far from what we've seen from Marco. Yeah, the 10 does pass the 2 here, so you've got options here, Marco. So it's looking like he will use the 11 to play position on the 8, as long as he can avoid running into the 8, and with this angle he's fine. Just needs a simple stop shot here for what would be an unmissable 8. Again, 2 very confident break and runs by Marco, and I'm really impressed with his cue ball. This is something that he's clearly worked on. Applying the pressure once again on Mateusz. Needs to reply. He's trailing 5-3. as Marco just returns, following up his perfect set so far. Hasn't missed the ball and he's converted all of his breaks. Mateusz Sniegocki back at the table, gets to break twice. This match is boiling up nicely. Let us know your thoughts in the chats if you are watching this on YouTube, whether you feel that that 6-ball, that creative shot from Mateusz should be in the top 10 of the highlights, or even, dare I say, in the top 5. That was truly special. But you know, highlight shots are fun, but they only win you 1 point or 1 ball in some cases. And now he's broke once again dry. This is his second dry break for Mateusz, and the previous time he broke dry, Marco punished him severely. He's back at the table with another chance to do so, and this would be a real psychological blow by Marco if he can also convert this counter once again. So he's definitely developed the 3 where it is now potable in the bottom right corner pocket. It's all about connecting the dots and getting on the 3. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was playing position on the 4 there, but he played it in such a way where he would always have a nice comfortable shot on the 1. So it's decision making time here really. There is a case to say use the 1, place yourself with a nice angle on the 3. It's looking like that is what he is going for, and leave himself a nice angle on the 4. A little bit lower than I was expecting him to land on the 3, but at least he's got a clear-cut path here towards the 4. And look at that for a shot. He could not have played this any better. What a shot he's played there. Positionally, 10 out of 10. That was a quick one, however. He could have done a bit better with his cue ball. Now, he's put unnecessary pressure on himself there. If he would have cued the cue ball better there, he would have landed easier on this 8. Made light work of it once again, and history repeats itself. Like I said, that was the second dry break by Mateusz, and again he's been punished relentlessly, and now he is well and truly in the danger zone. Marco Spitzky, 6-3 up. Oh boy. Such is the brutality of pool at the highest level. Mateusz could possibly lose this match without having missed a single shot. But at the highest level, if you break dry and you're playing someone like Marco, who is clearly in great form, they will punish you more often than not, and it's looking really grim right now for Mateusz. Yeah, I was wondering whether he could avoid running into the 5, so that is a slight positional error there from Marco. His first has to be said, so he is proving to be human. He can keep this visit going by putting the orange 13, just nudge the 8 in a better position back in the open, and he's done well there because he's not blocked the path for the 9 to pot in the bottom left corner pocket. Oh, that is right. I just see in the chat that Mateusz has actually missed one shot in this match, but he's not played bad at all. But the 3 dry breaks so far, they could prove very costly indeed for him. Already he's looking like he's facing a 7-3 deficit, and so far he couldn't count on any mistakes by Marco. And again, I've been really impressed by his cue ball control more than anything. Barely been in trouble. And I suppose it doesn't help for Mateusz that Marco has been breaking better of the 2 players, so he breaks both of the breaks of Mateusz and now extends his lead to 7-3, and it's going to be a very tough and uphill battle from this point on. Mateusz wisely takes a timeout, so he will get 5 to 6 minutes to regain his composure. In the meanwhile, I'll just have a quick look for you guys what's been going on the other tables. So Mario He is 5-1 up against Roman Hiebler, so he is well in command there. Benko Max, the only player left in the field representing Slovenia, 6-2 up against Daniel Maciol. And Simon Kural in the all-Polish affair against Mieszko Fortunski, he's just closed the gap from 3-5 behind to 4-5, so a lot of pool to be played in the other tables. We'll have a short breather and we'll be right back when Mateusz returns to the table. As Mateusz has returned to his seat, it is Marco to break twice, trying to extend his lead, and oh, that was really fortunate. The cue ball nearly dropped in the same middle pocket where he potted the last ball, although the layout isn't a roadmap as we call it in pool. He's got options here. Well, actually that was a false statement, and when I say he's got options there, basically he only had the solids for a direct pot. One of those situations once again where the table gets to dictate which of the balls you have to choose. Actually, in first glance, I think the 2 might be okay, you know, if it passes the 9, which it looks like it's doing. Past the 9 in the top left corner pocket, and he can he see enough of the 2? That is the big question here. And I think he can, just enough. So when he puts this 2, he's already pretty much solved the biggest problem for as far as he is concerned. I think he's lost his cue ball there though. Not so sure what he was trying to achieve there, but now he's faced with a pressure shot here on the 7 or the 3. Actually, he's looking at the no, it is the 7 that he's going for. He can draw this back and play position on the 3, and yes, he's still 100% pot success, but playing position on the 4 now becomes increasingly more difficult. A lot of balls to be avoided for Marco to play position on the 4. He might have to settle to pot this 4 in the same corner pocket as the 3. Let's see how he goes about this one. Yep, like I thought, he had to settle to pot the 4 in the same corner pocket. And you know, if you're ultra critical, you could say the angle isn't perfect, but all things considered, that was a fabulous recovery shot. Still needs to pot this 4, and I have to say the cue ball seemed like it flew off the rail there. I don't know whether you can have a, if you are watching on YouTube, maybe go back a couple of seconds and see if you feel like the cue ball really bounced very hard off the top rail there. Yeah, so he misses his first shot in this match on the 8 ball there. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I really felt like the cue ball bounced too hard off the rail. Mateusz will play safe here because the first pot here is not ideal. A straightforward snooker or hook, as we say in pool. Marco using the mirroring aiming system, where you try to calculate the distance of the object ball off the side rail that you need to hit. You double that and then you can look at the angle. So he's called the 8 in the top right corner pocket there, but at least it's not a ball in hand, so that is the least that he could do there. Yeah, as you can imagine, this is a golden opportunity for Mateusz to do something back and close the gap. Of course, it would still be Marco with another break after this. Done what he had to do there. Punished Marco for that positional error. Closes the gap a little bit. Still not completely out of the woods here. It's trailing 7-4 Mateusz, and like we said, he's gonna need some sort of assistance from Marco to claw his way back in this match. If for some miracle, if he can get the next one also on the board, he would only trail 7-5 and gets to break twice. Let's see how Marco can go about this rack. Final break of the pair for Marco. And I have to say, one might be entitled to say he was a bit fortunate, but on the other hand, if you look at the layout, you wouldn't be 100% confident if you were sat in the chair of Mateusz that you would get another shot. It seems like Marco is really preferring the solids here, and it's hard to tell whether he can see enough of the one to pot it directly. You can always opt to play the combination, the 10 on the 2, and call 10 on the 1, and call the solids. The only issue with that shot is, if he pots the 1 off the 10, he could still occupy that pocket and therefore leave himself another problem on the 3. So much so, he's opted to go for the stripes here. Same ball, needs some solving. It's the 10 that is causing him some trouble there. Marco hasn't looked at this option. I thought he could pot the, I believe it's the pink 12 or it's the orange 13. He could use the 1 to pot the 13. No, it's the 12. Right now he's looking at playing position on the 10, which is also fine, but then you have to land pretty much perfect, and I have to say he's done so. I thought he could have used the 1 and pot it just gently. That would have cleared the path for the 10. Such is his confidence in his cue ball, and rightly so. I mean, he's made very little errors. In fact, he's only made 1 error in this match so far. But he opted to play position on the 10. Needs to be careful with his cue ball here though. Yeah, made sure that he avoided any sort of contact with the 8. Accepted a longer shot here on the 15, but as you can see, it is close enough to the corner pocket for him to pot it and play a nice positional shot on the 8 in the middle. So yeah, that was always going to be one of the hardest parts for Mateusz to claw his way back in the match. He needs some assistance from Marco, and has to be said, he has been solid all the way through. So it's 8-4 to the German. as I will give you another score update on the other tables. Mario Hay is in a commanding lead, 7-1 up against Roman Hibler. Benko Max still going strong, 7-3 up against Daniel Maciol. Simon Kural versus Mieszko Fortunski. That was at 1.45, or I should say 5-4 in favor of Mieszko Fortunski, but now he's gone. He's run away again. He's now 7-4 up, so most of the quarterfinals are approaching the latter part or the business end. Let's turn our attention back to Mateusz's break, and I have to say, from a cue ball perspective, this is his best break so far, by a mile. I don't think we have to guess too much whether he will go for the solids or the stripes. What I would say though about Mateusz, as you can see, he is a very fluent and fast player, and that is something that I feel like if you want to fight your way back in a match, it does help if you don't, if it's not costing you a pint of blood, as a saying, if you're familiar with that. Some players, you can see that they really fight themselves back in the match, but it also takes a lot of time and energy. And sure, sometimes that actually really helps and it slows down your opponent, but if you are a confident and a very talented putter as is Mateusz, and you can just solve these racks quite easy and fast, the scoreline does change very quickly, so that is also a way to apply pressure on your opponent. This is looking like another textbook break and run, keeping himself alive in this match. One more break coming up. Score now 5-8 in favor, or 8-5 in favor of Marco Spitzky. Mateusz back at the table. The break has proven to be a difficulty spread throughout the match. He's had 3 dry breaks. If you've joined us just right now, Mateusz breaking the second of the pair of breaks he gets. Another very good hit and a nice spread. Be tempted to think that he will go for the solids here. I mean, I do believe the 1 is puttable there, just behind the cluster of balls, the 9 and the 10. Or is he considering the stripes here? Well, needless to say, he's got options here. Yeah, you can see his played position on the 9. He did come around prior on taking on his first shot to see whether that ball was potable, and in doing so from this angle he does clear the path to pot the 10 in the same corner pocket. Not entirely happy, judged by his body language. Yeah, maybe, I was looking at it, maybe if he can try and use the 2, if he runs into the 2 off the side rail, not too hard, even if he misses contact with the 2, he always leave himself on the next ball. And that's exactly what he's done. He used the 2, that was a very clever shot there. And also the pace he played it, he would always be guaranteed to leave himself a shot on the next ball. And right now he can basically choose. He's got all 3 of the balls to his availability. He's gonna put this pink 12 in the middle, use the angle, he leaves himself on the orange 13. So the 14 green stripe ball will be his penultimate ball. One might say a little too close for comfort, but he's still in prime position to draw this cue ball back past the 2 ball here. Doesn't want to leave himself hampered with the 2, and I think that is not the case. So Mateusz does what he needed to do, converts his 2 breaks. Now the score is closer. He trails 8-6. Marco back at the table, gets to break twice, so potentially he can run out this match off these 2 breaks he gets. Let's see how his first of the 2 will work out. So he's made a ball off his break. Can he see a path to take? So he could possibly take the 1, and at first glance I'd be tempted to think that the solids are sitting better for him. He's a bit limited, or maybe he can't get to the putting angle to the 1. I was a bit ahead of myself there. I thought maybe he could putt the 1. So he's contemplating to play safe here, because he obviously doesn't have a clear-cut putting chance here. Has he called a bank here? He has. Oh, and that is the worst case scenario for him. See, the 8 was in a difficult situation, but now, well, it's not completely wide in the open, I would say, but he solved that dilemma. And Mateusz can use the 6 here and trying to play some sort of position on the 3, or maybe even try to disturb it a little bit. If he can somehow control his cue ball, run into the 3, you'd think he would always have a shot at the 1 here. He's landed a little bit awkward. I mean, if the cue ball would have rolled just half a revolution further, this tree was unmissable, but right now he's hampered by the stripe in his eyesight, so that is going to cause a lot of distraction, and that also increases the difficulty of the shot here. This is very missable, and it proved to be a little bit too much. I suppose the only good news for Mateusz is that 9 ball is now covered by the 3, so that doesn't pot in that obvious corner pocket. So something, one of the two problems Marco has to solve if he wants to run this rack. It's the stripe closest to his cue, the pink 12 as well as the 9 are obstacles he needs to negotiate. Yeah, you could clearly see what his plan was there. He tried to develop the 12, knowing full well that unless something strange happens, he would always have a shot at the red 11. But as is the case, he's running out of balls to play a very tough positional shot. So dare I to say that Mateusz is highly likely gonna get another visit at the table, because it's really hard to see how you can run out the rack from here unless he comes up with a very creative shot. You can still continue this break. Was a little bit fortunate in running into the 7, and doing so still has a putt on the 9. This could be one of those scenarios where he has to settle for a tough shot on the 12 after the 9, or he can opt to try and attack the bank shot. It's one of those situations where you really need to make up your mind before you take on the shot. So it seems to be the bank. This is potentially to put himself on the hill. Key shot coming up. So what's the damage here? Is there... Yeah, so Mateusz has to resolve the 2 and the 7 there. A little bit congested. Is this the moment where he's gonna take a little risk and try and pot the 2? His played position on the 7. He did as good as he could have landed on the 7 really there. Ah. So all along his plan was to play a guaranteed snooker on the 2. Marco has called this 12 in the top right corner pocket, so if he does manage to pull off this 1 in 10 shot, or maybe even less of a percentage, the 8 is sitting there in the corner pocket. There's a lot of pressure on this 2 ball. You can see Mateusz, he realizes that Is it? He's asking the referee if he's got an extension. He might be considering to play safe. He's playing a two-way shot here with safety in mind. Don't know about this one though. I thought he could have just committed fully for the two. Actually, that final bump has worked out as a treat for Mateusz. Right now, Marco has to cue over the 7, which increases the difficulty of the shot vastly here. So what is he looking at, Marco? Oh, he played a bank shot. These are the type of shots that you really need to keep still on the shot. Trying to pot this dead weight, but you cue do the talking. Wonderful shot. Even applied a little bit of left spin and trying to check the cue ball. Wonderful shot there by Mateusz at a very critical stage of the match. And now it's only 8-7. Let's not forget, Marco gets to break another time, but at worst Mateusz will return to the table after this break. So the scoreline here, 8-7. Let's have a look at what has been going on the other tables. We do have our first semi-finalist, Mario Hay, who has completed the quarterfinal against Roman Hibler. A convincing 10-2 display by the Austrian. Benko Max in a tough battle against Daniel Maciol. It's 7-6 now to the Slovenian contingent. And then the all-Polish affair. Mieszko Fortunski is now 9-5 up against Simon Kural. So he is also cruising towards the finishing line there. So could we have at least 3 Polish players in the semi-finals? Stay tuned to find out. At first glance, if you are sitting in the chair of Mateusz, you'd be very, very happy to see where that 8 ball has finished. Needless to say, that 4 and the 8 is causing some difficulties for Marco. So much so that he is going to play safe. I think he's trying to play a Chinese snooker, as we call it. Yeah, so he more or less glued his cue ball on the top side of the 8. Sure, Mateusz has a couple of potting options available to him. None of them are easy, particularly if you're talking about the positional side of the shot. Referee visible in your screen, keeping a close eye to make sure that Mateusz does not unintentionally hit the 8 ball with his cue, which would result in a ball in hand for his opponent. Also needs to be aware of the shot clock. Yeah, I think the 13 is the easier, or even the 3 of the pots. Yeah, I think the solids is a very good option here if he wants to attack. Try to play safe, but that is unfortunately not safe. If anything, this is a clear-cut chance for Marco. By playing the safety the way he did, not only did he pose a difficult question to Mateusz, but he also developed the 4 there which initially was one of the biggest problems on the table. But now, look at the layout. This is a great chance for Marco to get on the hill first. If you've just joined us on this match, we've been watching the man on our screen, Marco, playing pretty much near perfect. Missed only one shot throughout the match. Mateusz also been playing really solid stuff. However, he's had 3 dry breaks, and so far that's been the reason why he is trailing in this match. Marco here looking to put himself on the hill, just needs to make sure that he lands comfortably on the 8, and I don't know whether he can get close enough on the 8 here. Can he just cheat the pocket a little bit? Just to take a little longer shot here on the 8. So far his putting has been really impressive, as well as his cue ball, so be hard to see this go wrong. Oh my word, the commentator's curse. That was away by a mile, so I can only presume the pressure got the better of him. What a moment for Mateusz to step in and punish his opponent. That really is a poor shot. Oh my days, what is going on? I can only presume he tried to develop the 11, because otherwise I can't start to explain what he was trying to do there. Is he trying to play safe? Oh no, I think he's going for the combination here. Nope, he's playing safe. Oh my goodness. What is going on? Both players seems to be feeling the pressure. If that cue ball would have dropped, I mean, I don't need to explain to you that the scoreline would have changed right now, but as it is, I mean, try to pick out the path to pot this 8 here. What is he doing? He's trying to... I can't really see what he was doing. Yeah. So seems like Mateusz is trying to develop the green 14. Doesn't need to power it in, just a little nudge would be enough. So he's opened up the path for the 14 to be putted the long distance. It's a pressure shot coming up with the semi-final spot at stake. These can be missed sometimes. Yeah, played it positively, and by positive I mean attack the cue ball rather than play it too soft. And that should be his pathway to 8-all. And what a crucial turning point this could be, because presuming that he puts these 3 remaining balls, all of a sudden Mateusz gets the chance to run out this match, gets to break, remember, twice after this. There you have it, folks. 8-all, 2 breaks coming up for Mateusz for a place in the semi-final. Stay tuned. Yeah, I must say, obviously the players are using the break box and going for the outer skirts of the break box has not served them well, Mateusz. So maybe he can switch it up and try to go for a fuller contact. He has experimented with his break throughout the match, and I mean, he's clawed his way back all the way to 8-0, and this is the worst time of the match to, you know, produce dry breaks. Going to be the 5 here. Play position on either the 2 or the 1. Seems to be the 2, the most obvious one. Nicely controlled there. This cue ball. Basically, he's trying to figure out the pathway towards the 1 off the 3, as it seems the most obvious route towards the 8 ball for him. He has used this extension. It's one of the, I would say, one of the things in your fundamentals that if you are quite early in your pool journey, your career, if you have high ambitions I should say, one of the things in your fundamentals that you really need to work on is the agreement of never go down on the shot until you absolutely know what you want to do. You would be amazed how many shots can be missed simply by getting down on the shot and not being 100% committed or convinced that what you want to do. In the meanwhile, Marco punishes that dry break by Mateusz. I don't know why, but I have this strong feeling that Mateusz will break for the last time, as this is his last break of the pair, and he will level the scores. Wouldn't that be a excellent way to close out this match? Be interesting to see where he wants to place his cue ball. As you saw in the previous break, didn't really pay dividend, so curious to see whether he will go for a fuller contact on the first ball of the pack. Well, definitely he's moved his cue ball a little bit more towards the center line, so good to see that he is taking notes of some of the proceedings. This time a fuller contact, and he puts a ball. Not necessarily a roadmap presented to him, but all you want in this stage of the match is a shot and a chance, and he's got one. obviously the most obvious dilemma for Mateusz as he is going for the solids is the 1 ball there. Is it potable past the, just behind the 10? And if so, he needs to play a perfect positional shot here. It's because there's not a lot of room to play on the 1. So one thing is guaranteed, he will definitely run into the 10 and probably maybe even the 8, but can he still control his cue ball? Can he control his cue ball? Well, here's your answer. He is in a world of trouble right now. And really, one thing he cannot afford is give away a ball in hand. I have to say, I'm a bit surprised why he played it so soft. I thought the best way to guarantee yourself a shot was to inject a lot of power and backspin in the cue ball to guarantee that it will come back enough. I do believe he called the 5 there, so that was a very valiant effort, but in making contact with the 5 and the 3, he's opened up that corner pocket, and I believe the 10 does put in the bottom right corner pocket. I still have a lot of balls to be potted, but could this be the beginning of the end for Mateusz? First glance, that orange 13 needs some care and attention. Is the 13 possible in the middle? Potable in the middle? Or is he gonna leave himself on the long straight in the top left? Well, this is the key shot here. Well, 2 of them, of course. First this, and then the 8. I thought that was a clever shot. He's trying to use the corner, the middle pocket, just to get a little bit more queuing space. This is for the win. And as you can hear, yes baby. Played a very strong set, has to be said, Marco Spitzky. Towards the end, a little bit of wobbliness from him, but he still prevails to the semi-finals. And in the semi-finals, he will meet no one less